Welcome back to my channel, guys. Today I'm going to be making naan bread. As you can see, the texture of my naan bread is fairly thickish, and that is because when I make a dish that is nice and saucy, I love to dip the naan bread in there and it soaks up all that beautiful juices. So in a stand mixer, make sure that you place a dough hook, and this will make sure that when you are mixing the dough, it's actually kneading the dough for you. So I placed 3 cups of cake flour in the bowl, and then I added 1 teaspoon of yeast and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Make sure that you mix this together with the flour before adding the salt. You don't want to add the salt with the yeast because then it will not activate and it will not rise. Once it's mixed, I add the salt into the flour and yeast and baking powder mixture, and then I give it another short mix. I then add 1 whole egg and 200 ml of buttermilk. If you don't have buttermilk, you can also use amasi. I then use regular sunflower oil, 2 tablespoons of sunflower oil, and just a tip, I add that to the jug where my buttermilk was in, and I just mix it up so that if there's any excess buttermilk left in the jug, it's actually going to loosen it up. So then I add that to my mixture, and then I just mix once again. When you're using a stand mixer, you'll notice that it doesn't always get to the sides of the bowl, so you just want to make sure that you stop your stand mixer for a while and just use a spatula to scrape all the excess flour off on the sides of the bowl so that everything is incorporated nicely. Once you've done that, you can continue mixing. If the mixture looks too dry, I would suggest that you add some water into your jug and just add little bits of water at a time. At this stage, my dough is a little bit sticky, but that's fine because I'll just dust some flour onto my silicone mat, which I prefer using. You can use a chopping board, you can use a glass board, but I like to use a silicone mat because then it just makes it easier to lift off the board. Okay, and then I would suggest that you give it a little light knead before actually resting the dough, and this will just help your dough to be a little bit smoother. So sprinkle some flour onto your hands if it gets a bit sticky, and then continue kneading the dough. Once you're happy with the smoothness of the dough, you can then add some oil to your hands and then just rub the oil lightly in your bowl, and then just pat the dough with some oil as well, and that will just prevent it from sticking as it rises. I then rested my dough for about 35 minutes. You can let it rest longer, and when I lifted my dishcloth and I put my finger in the dough, it was nice and soft and I was happy with the texture. I then placed the dough back onto my silicone mat and I formed a log. You can now decide how big you would like your naan breads to be. I made it like a medium size, and I got about 8 out of there, and then I just formed little balls, and then once the balls were formed, I lightly dusted my rolling pin with some flour and I shaped my naan breads. Once I was happy with all the naan bread shapes and they were all rolled out, I left them on the silicone mat just to rise a little bit more before frying them in a pan. I then placed some butter on a non-stick pan and I put the naan breads in the pan, and you will see that the naan breads will continue to rise in the pan as it cooks. You can then flip it around and allow the other side to cook as well. And that is it. There you go. As you can see, when I break it open, it's lovely and soft. I hope you enjoyed that videos, guys, and thank you so much for watching. See you next time.